Good evening, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is Monday, May 12th at 5:30 p.m. and this is the Sebring Municipal Golf Course and Restaurant Deposition Workshop. Clerk Haley, can you call the roll, please?
Mayor Schuler.
Here.
Bishop.
Here.
Carlisle.
Here.
Avery.
Here.
Colchats. Here. Stewart.
Here. So before we begin, I want to go over again, the purpose of this workshop is to discuss the future of the Sebring Municipal Golf Course. We're having this workshop because at our March 18th council meeting, we received an unsolicited proposal by the Blackman group to lease the golf course. At that council meeting, council opted to schedule this workshop to discuss the golf course and/or any lease proposal in depth. We do have a public participation policy for workshops that I want to go over. Presenters that are on the agenda are permitted up to 10 minutes at the beginning of the workshop to give a presentation and 10 minutes at the end conclusion of public comment to address any matters raised during the workshop. Members of the public are permitted up to 5 minutes each to provide comments and pose questions. For the sake of time tonight, we request that groups of people select a spokesperson instead of multiple people speaking to say the same thing. We will be using a digital timer to track speaking time for this workshop, and I'll cut off any speaker who exceeds their time limit. We have to be strict for interest of time and treat everyone fairly, so 5 minutes for public comment, 10 minutes for presenters. Lastly, I would like to make sure everyone is aware that tonight this is a workshop only, so there will be no votes taken tonight, purely discussion, getting into details of direction the council might wish to proceed at a future meeting, but nothing will be voted on, so if the end result of what we've talked about is not what you hope, you will get an opportunity to speak about it again at any time when it's voted on in the future. And lastly, like all meetings that are just full, it's a contentious subject. Let's please keep it civil, keep it professional, and let's try and keep everything in line. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start then with item number 4 on the agenda, which is the Blackman family presentation. And 10 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor Shoup, members of the council. My name is Brian Sykes with Meridian Partners Law.
No,
No, it's not. Those photos are going Is that better? No? I bet you that's better. There you go. Mayor Shoup, members of the council, my name is Brian Sykes. I'm the attorney with Meridian Partners Law, Tampa, Florida. I'm here representing the Blackman family. Back in March, as you noted, we had come before council to request a unsolicited proposal, which was for a ground lease of the municipal golf course as an amenity to the historic Carter Hotel. What I'd like to do is go through quickly and what I'd like to do is go through kind of a quick summary of what the ground lease terms would be. The historic Carter Hotel ownership group would enter into a lease with the city to lease the golf course from the city. There would not be a transfer of ownership, it would strictly be a lease, and to continue operating it as a golf course and as an amenity to the historic Carter Hotel. The lessee would assume all operational and financial obligations of the golf course. That means wages, salaries, maintenance costs, material costs, everything. The city would have zero responsibility, zero liability, zero obligation. In leasing vernacular, you call that a triple net lease, that basically taxes, insurance, everything is paid for, net of the operations. The lessee would pay personal property taxes and real property taxes on the property. So the golf course would end up being on the county tax rolls, which would be some benefit to the city as well. The lessee will also provide a capital improvement plan and a capital investment in the golf course. The lessee will continue to honor all memberships, and the lessee will address stormwater issues in the general area. The benefits to the city of Sebring. It will continue to own the golf course land. They'll no longer be responsible for the golf course operations. They'll no longer be required to subsidize the golf course, which it has been doing for the last 10 plus years. The golf course again will be added to the ad valorem tax rolls, and the golf course will become an amenity to the historic Carter Hotel. talk about golf course statistics for a minute. There's 1,328 public golf courses in Florida, which include public, private, and municipal courses. Only 134 out of 1,328 golf courses are municipal built. What's a contributing factor to that? Number one, high operational costs, something that you guys have experienced for years here. Number two, declining participation. And number three, the investment required for maintenance, upkeep, and renovation of the golf course. Current financial impact today of the golf course in the city is it generates about 1.3 million in revenues. Generates 798,000 in revenues with 1.3 million in expenses. This results in over $500,000 per year operating deficit. So the city is currently funding $500,000 a year to keep the golf course going. 2024 fiscal year budget contemplated a $249,000 transfer from the general fund just to support the golf course operations itself. Looking at this year, between October 2024 and March 2025, 14,556 rounds were played. Greens fees went from a high of $30.70 to a low of $22.65 with an average green fee of $28.06. Revenues between October and March were $408,000. So if you extrapolate that against prior years, it's pretty much on track to do what it did before. What we should note, though, is October to March is the high season. So more than likely, those numbers will be a little bit less than in previous years. What can the city do with the $500,000 that it's currently spending? It can put it towards public utilities, law enforcement, fire protection, infrastructure maintenance and improvements, public facilities. It goes towards staff and departments. What differentiates the Harder Hotel Group? One is the ability to market the golf course as an amenity to the resort hotel. Picture, come and stay at the historic Harder Hotel and play at the resort's 18-hole course versus come and stay at the historic Harder Hotel and play at the municipal course across the street. It's got a little bit different ring to it. It'll help in marketing. It'll help in bringing people to this area. The historic Harder Hotel will have the ability to host conferences for companies, retreats for businesses, all of which will utilize the golf course as part of its amenity. They have the ability to offset losses with other revenue sources and revenue centers. And they have the ability to privately fund improvements as opposed to going to the public. One thing that my client will note is they've never asked for any public monies. They haven't asked for bond revenues. They haven't asked for anything in terms of the historic Harder Hotel, and the same applies for this.
Mr. Sykes, maybe that's what you do on the microphone.
Yes. What changes and what stays the same? What changes? The city no longer has operational and financial obligations with respect to the golf course. The city no longer has to subsidize the golf course. The city gets the benefit of the golf course being added to the tax rolls. And the golf course gets needed improvements which are privately funded. What stays the same? The golf course remains open to the public. The city retains ownership of the underlying land. Existing members and membership agreements stay in place. Continuity with the golf course management and staff and Caddyshack will remain. Who benefits from the proposal? The city, taxpayers, golfers, the general public, and of course the historic Harder Hotel. Thank you for your time, appreciate it. In conclusion, it's a win-win deal for everyone. It promotes future success of the historic Harder Hotel, preserves the golf course for future generations, and helps to promote tourism.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Brian. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Blackman. I'm a partner in the Harder Hall Resort. Also here tonight are Carolee and Jim Blackman, so we have all the partners of the resort. The golf course land and original clubhouse entered the city's possession in the 1920s when the original developers gifted it to the city. The developers told the city they would not continue construction of the hotel unless the city absorbed the cost of running and maintaining the course. Even back then, the need for golf to attract destination tourism, which holds the greatest financial impact for the community, was understood. The city has essentially been saddled with this burden for 100 years by previous owners of the hotel. We are offering to lift the curse. We are offering to absorb all costs, liability, and responsibility for maintenance of the golf course. And since it will be under private control, the course will be returned to the tax roll. It is a double swing. The city will go from losing money every year to deriving a profit. Commonly in historic renovations throughout the state, the municipality makes concessions. For instance, in St. Petersburg, the Vinoy Hotel was vacant for 19 years before renovations began. They acquired a golf course and were gifted a waterfront marina from the city as conditions to construct the hotel. In Jacksonville, Melbourne, Ocala, and Stewart, the city offered public-private partnerships to construct parking garages or give other concessions. Most fitting is the example of the Biltmore Coral Gables, sister hotel in Harder Hall. Harder Hall was developed, built, and run by partners from the Biltmore Coral Gables group, heralding Sebring and the neighborhood surrounding Harder Hall as the, quote, Coral Gables of Central Florida. The Biltmore Coral Gables and its golf course is owned by the city of Coral Gables, but leased to a third-party, for-profit group on a 99-year lease. However, oftentimes the city has agreed to pay for upgrades to the hotel at their expense. In 2022, the county and city agreed to provide $675,000 to repair the cupola. The city more recently, in 2018, redirected $10.5 million to historic renovations on the Biltmore Coral Gables. We are not asking for financial concessions, nor has anyone from the city ever offered us a dime towards this renovation. Even this proposal is not that. A previous owner of the hotel was gifted it by the city, then offered millions of dollars in publicly funded bond money. Today we are making the city an offer to assume their financial burden at our expense, even though we received nothing the other way around. We originally presented this offer to the city in writing in December of 2022. Public records will show that. We were told this would simply be a formality and to wait just a bit longer. Although unusual, we trusted the city in the process. We should have pushed harder. Instead, we are now met with pushback and other offers. Much time, money, and attention has been expended on the downtown circle as of late. Ask residents of the neighborhood surrounding Harder Hall if they'd like a world-class resort, improved drainage, decreased blight, and increased property values. They will undoubtedly say yes. We can and will provide it, but we cannot achieve this mission as a hotel, only as a true resort, as the property has and was always intended to be. Through our painstaking efforts thus far, the building has been preserved. From shoring up the foundation, to restoring and rebuilding the entire roof, replacing floor joists and decking, and ordering all new impact glass hand-built grand doors, and all new hurricane impact windows. The hotel that was once front page news of the Highlands News Sun for demolition has been saved. But the usage is still to be determined. We field calls every week from people wanting to buy or partner on the property, although a vast majority of these calls are from ALF and retirement home providers. We have turned everyone away so far, but there is a market for the structure one way or another. Today, after years of discussion, thought, and input, the city of Sebring needs to make a value statement. We respectfully ask for clarity on where your values stand. This is the biggest project in the city's history to restore its most iconic structure. The first real grasp of hope.
Mr. Blackman, I'm sorry, your time's up.
Can I finish with the microphone now?
I cannot, no, sir.
Even though,
You'll have time at the end to wrap up.
okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have a presentation from the Caddyshack, Mr. and Mrs. Mendoza.
Good evening, I'm Sonia Mendoza and my husband, Gavin.
Mendoza.
And we would just like to say that we've been in business there for 19 years. We currently pay $3,598.89 a month in rent. Since 2006, we've paid $750,000. We pay on time, we prepay for the summer. We don't ask or cost the city for anything. We cover all expenses that it takes to run the Caddyshack. I think we've asked you to paint the outside one time, and after hurricanes, you've had to replace the roof. Other than that, the Caddyshack maintains itself. The city does not maintain us. We do have a sweet deal on rent. We employ 33 employees. We've always been offered a 5-year lease option of 5 more up until 2 years ago. when we got a 2-year lease because it was promised to the Blackman family upon 75% completion of the Harder Hall Hotel. We would like you to consider giving us a 5-year lease. Mr. Blackman can have his horse to go with his beautiful resort. We have separate addresses. I don't know why the two can't be separated. The city can then spend money on other projects. I understand the city loses money on the course every year, and making $1 is better than making nothing at all. However, $1 for the restaurant over the $4,300 we pay a year isn't really a good deal. I would also like to add that the city knew this deal was on the table and in agreements, as Blackman said during the first meeting. Then why did you close the course and spend thousands of dollars redoing the greens as well as buying new equipment that he will now get for $1, and then have to turn around and build a shed and buy another set of new equipment on taxpayer dollar to maintain Max Long Fields, as right now they're both maintained together? I think that's about it, but we would love to have an extended lease so that we know our future, our employees know their future if you were here tonight, and just thank you for your time.
All right, next up we'll have a presentation from the Tourist Development Council. Casey now.
Good evening, Councilman, Mayor. Thank you for inviting us to come here. We have been, this was originally presented to the Tourism Development Council on May 1st. If you could advance to the next slide. Oh, do you have to click? So just real quick for everyone, the Tourist Development Council, we are a county department, but we are not funded by general revenue. So our money comes in from tourist development tax, which you may call a heads and beds or a bed tax. So for us, the more money we get from hotels and people staying in hotels, the more money that's generated for the TDC. You can see it's a 5% tax on hotel rooms, VRBOs, Airbnbs. We are here to present this data information. The county does not have an official position on this issue. We have been researching sports tourism and facility development since 2020. This research helps us make educated decisions. Our money is governed by a Florida statute and a county ordinance, so we do a lot of research and data dives to make sure that we are spending the money how it is meant to be spent in the statute. So just for some background, for this fiscal year, we added a facility improvement grant option for any facility that wanted to come to us and look for funding with long-term planning. The city of Sebring and the town of Lake Placid were the two that submitted proposals to us. After some consideration, the consultant said if we added City of Avon Park and the fairgrounds, that would capture the entire county and be fair to everyone. So the study did include the entire county. We looked at all the facilities within the county. So what was involved in the study? First, this is the statute on how the tourist development funds can be used for tourism. That's on the left in the orange. TDC has what we call a third penny or an asset fund just for facility development enhancement. So that money, that's where this money would be coming from. That's why we are interested in this. We also did the study to evaluate opportunities for other tourism facilities to be enhanced. What can be done in Lake Placid, what can be done in Sebring, Avon Park, the fairgrounds, so on and so forth. The next steps, however, are up to the facility owners. So with this case, with Max Long and the Muni, it is up to the city of Sebring to determine the next steps with this. So just real quick, tourism helps local residents. I know a lot of people say, we live here, we don't want tourists here, but they infuse a lot of money into our local economy. They create jobs, they support local business, infrastructure, roads, schools, different things like that. If developing or enhancing a tourism driving facility, that municipality or that organization can come to the TDC and ask for funding. That is a separate board that votes on it, so it's not up to me, it's up to the tourism board. Also, what we found is when you drive tourism events to the area, you can charge more for your facility rental. A lot of times when people are coming for travel ball or different things like that, lacrosse, whatever it is, they are willing to pay more because they are generating revenue from those events. And then it also improves the facility for locals. So when we do something that improves a facility for tourists, then it then becomes an asset that's better for the locals as well. Next slide. And I'm going to turn it over to Alan Verlander. He was part of the study group.
So we've been working down here for about 4 years. I've been in sports for 30 years. And part of this whole process was with Synergy Sports and Huddle Up Group. Synergy's out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Huddle Up's out of Phoenix, Arizona. We've looked at facilities, sports tourism facilities all over the country, from indoor arenas to outdoor baseball fields, everywhere in the entire country. And we put Sebring in a grid, if you will, against a lot of where those facilities are around the country. We looked at our strengths, our opportunities, the typical SWOT analysis out there, and then based upon a whole grid of information and scoring, where is, in this particular case, Max Long, in regards to other facilities around the country. And so currently, the flat fields, tournament-friendly 8 to 15 fields, the anchor facility would have a minimum of 16 fields, and you can see the different facilities there. Currently, we have 10 diamonds. I will tell you, and I will give serious props to the people that are taking care of Max Long right now. It is in as good of shape as I've seen it, and I've been down here for 5 years. But it's still not in the shape where you can attract major national tournaments. We talk to all of the big, it attracts Dixie Youth, but we talk to all of the big tournament providers all across the country. I was just with a bunch of them a few weeks ago in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they looked at it and they said, it's a nice facility, but we can't do our event there. And so, based on that, we started looking at, and these are all of the different venues that we looked at throughout this process in the lieu of time. I'm not going to go through all of those, but you can see them. But we did an extensive search of all these different facilities in the community. I'm down here a lot. I'm down here at least once a month, so I go to these facilities all the time because I'm talking to national events to bring their events to Highlands County, and in particular Sebring. So we narrowed down to top 5. One of those top 5s was Max Long. Keep in mind, our job was to create ideas, not recommendations, but simply ideas. And so if you look at these different venues in there against an index score, so the index that Huddle Up has put together is a score based upon national facilities around the country and what event planners are using or to determine if they want to bring their event or not. And if you look there at the different scores, we're average or below average on most of these. But if you go, in this particular case, if you go to Max Long, we are above average in the disc golf course, but we are average or below average in the fields. And so again, there's just more and more data trying to be time specific. But basically, when we looked at that, you have the footprint in Max Long of, you could create the current Max Long facility, 8 amazing 200-foot fields. You could majorly enhance them. You could create 12 and under events, which are the 200 events from all over. But it's not just baseball or softball. You could bring in all different types of multi-purpose events here all year long. You can look at this data again, some of the best versus some of the worst. And we really did a deep dive on Max Long. We looked at the current Max Long and then just dreaming or envisioning. We were paid not to bring recommendations, just look at it for what it is. And so these are all if you upgrade all 8 fields with 200 permanent fences. You do have 3 fields that would have 300-foot fences, which is high school age. And then you would turf all the infields, which would give you maintenance free. You'd be able to play more games. There would be a lot less rainouts. It does rain in Florida every now and then. You upgrade the sound systems, infrastructure, Wi-Fi, all these different things, netting, put netting above so that you don't have to yell foul ball all the time, new scoreboards, all this kind of stuff. If you look at this, a lot of these potential events have never played at Max Long. But a lot of these, when you talk to them and you show them what we created, they all said, we would love to come there. We're tired of going to Orlando. We're tired of going to these coastal cities where the hotels are $400 a night, where there's traffic, you have to wait an hour to get into restaurants. We'd rather come to Sebring where it's more affordable and more friendly. That was their words, not mine. I agree with them, but that was their words. And so if you look at where we are, this would be the current thing. Where the current layout. We would go in and renovate and really produce great fields, but also you would have multi-purpose to where you could do all types of events. And again, a lot of these, the total economic impact, we're short on time, but if you were able to do just current Max Long, you would increase your visitors by 25,000, estimated hotel nights, 24,000 hotel nights, just by all the extra events that we could bring there. And then we just, again, we were paid to vision stuff and to create ideas, and so we would repurpose part of the municipal golf course. We didn't say which fields. I'm an avid golfer. I play golf once or twice a week. I try to, so I love the sport of golf. So we didn't identify which holes or anything like that. But basically, if you go in and you create these super fields, which is a new thing in sports tourism these days, these multi-purpose fields, you could create a lot of these different things, and if you go back, all of these different events would continue to look at us, and then the impact, again, going through it fast, but you can see the overview of current Max Long, and if you were dreaming on the municipal course, and then all the different community benefits, and then you would increase estimated visitors 140,000 or 45,000 room nights. And that's
All right.
that's it.
Thank you guys for coming to speak to us about that. Next up, we've got a financial history of the golf course. Penny Robinson is going to present on that.
Good evening. Before you is a statement of net position. These reports are in the audited financial statements, and I'd like to just explain partly what the report shows. This report, the statement of net position, has your assets, liabilities, as well as your net position. As a reminder, your net position is the difference between your assets and liabilities, representing what's left over for as your other resources. This report, I was asked to update. Originally, it did not have as many years, but we were able to get a draft from the auditors, so it currently reflects years audited 2012 through 2023. It also includes the draft from the auditors for 2024, and then the values as of today. So I did want to report for basically a balance sheet and expenditure and revenue report as of today to give you additional information. The second report is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund net position. It contains your operating revenues, operating expenses, non-operating revenues, the income loss, and as well as your transfers in to the fund from the general fund and your net position. One thing I want to comment here is depreciation is included in this report. This is an enterprise fund, so it acts as a business, and so we do have to report depreciation. That's the value of your purchases spread out over the useful life of the assets. The next thing I want to point out is transfers in. So your transfers in amount, I know we've talked about the losses of the fund, but I want to point out that the transfer in is the value that is infused into the golf course each year. So this is used to balance the budget, and the current year that we're in, a transfer in of $116,731 was made to balance the budget, meaning revenues plus this transfer in equal your expenditure budget. Last year, you did approve a transfer in of $628,000, but there were capital improvements made to the golf course as well as equipment purchases to the amount of $404,000. Prior year was $128,461, and again, capital improvements of $217,000. So although it's operating at a loss, the amount that's actually being transferred into the fund from the general fund, which is cost from the taxpayer, is $116,000 in the current year. Do you have any questions, or do you want me to touch on anything else?
No, I think we're good. We'll, I'm sure we'll have some later. Okay. Thank you. So next step on the agenda, item number 8, is going to be mayor and council discussion remarks. We'll go down the table first, and if you have questions, comments, discussion, we'll go from there. After this point is when we will open it up for public comment, and followed by any answering of questions or clarification by the presenters. And then to end the meeting, we'll wrap up here with council, any questions or comments or moments as we have. So I'll start down here with Mr. Carlisle.
Thank you. After the presentation of the ball field, I see more revenue coming in from the ball field than I received through the hotel. You know, we set up here with councilmen who were elected by the citizens to do the right thing and do the right business. And I think it's a bad business deal to spend the money we've spent to improve our golf course. And when we hired Fred, we promised him we would give him the opportunity to turn our course around, and he hasn't had that opportunity. We're just now getting into the growing season. I personally would like to keep my word with Fred and watch the course grow. I was out there this past week, and it looks 100% better than it did 6 months ago, or even 3 months ago. So I think we should, and the young lady mentioned that it was told to the Blackmans that when they got 75% done, we would consider this. Well, they're nowhere near 75%. They're months behind, and I would like to see the doors open. And we're a long way from that happening. So I don't think this is the time to make this decision. I think, and I'm totally against giving anybody city property any more for $1. And we do it for $1 a year. So I prefer, I know we spend money on it, but every recreation almost still, one of the councilmen's things, they said last time, anything is recreational, the citizens pay. We get no money out of it. We just spent how many thousands of dollars on a pickleball court. We don't get nothing from that pickleball court. We get nothing from the playgrounds that we're right now redoing for the children. So why why don't we turn our back on the golf players and the older citizens, you know? So I think we need to take a step back and watch what happens with the hotel. And we have a bank downtown that they also have that nothing's really, I know they're doing a little bit, but nothing's really happening. So let's give them an opportunity to prove themselves as well. Thank you.
So I have a few. So I'm, like everyone else, when we get to budget time, those are rough meetings. We're trying to make ends meet and not raise taxes, and the golf course does cost money. You know, there's reasons for that that have been outlined extensively. But it's a simple fact, it does cost money, and I understand your point about it being public recreation. The only difference in my mind between the golf course and, say, a playground is you have to pay to golf. It's not free to the public, and there are private golf courses available. There's not very many private playgrounds or things like that. It's kind of more falls on government to supply those. I'm not firmly against a lease or sale of the course, but there are a few things that would have to happen for me to be open to it. First, it's kind of been alluded to already, is I would want to see a full certificate of occupancy for the entire hotel. I know that, you know, and this is not the Blackman's problem, but we've seen other developers come in and start and fail. And I wouldn't want to go down that route, you know, by leasing the course or selling the course and then just to see it not complete. So a full CO would be important to me. I want to make sure there is a deed restriction on that property that continues to lock it into being a golf course or other public recreation, so that nothing else can be done with the land. And I would like to see if in any agreement for the future, at least a 5-year lease for the Caddyshack. I don't think it's... I don't think it would be reasonable to say, you know, we have to keep this specific restaurant forever, but I think 5 years gives people enough time to see if it's a good fit, and if not, you know, make plans for the future. I do have some other kind of questions and things I would like to get the temperature of council on. The first is what becomes the increased cost for maintaining Max Lawn if we move to the golf course? Is it just equipment in the building, or is there more from that end? Staffing considerations. What sort of thing should be put in any agreement for a lease or a sale for non-performance? For example, if down the road they stopped running a golf course and let it, you know, go fallow, you know, kind of like Hart Hall did, what happens to it then? Should there be some sort of clause where it would revert back to the city, or what would that look like? Are you guys interested in thinking of this as a sale or instead just a long-term lease? Could there possibly be a City of Sebring resident rate to keep costs maybe affordable for city residents in some fashion? And then, of course, and I don't expect us to figure all this out tonight, but what could be negotiated in regards to the staff there? I think it's important to take care of staff where we can. And I just would like to know, I guess, a little more details on what that looks like.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the presentations. This is a really big decision, and it's something that I don't want to take lightly. I love the idea of having one workshop and one meeting just so we can isolate and determine everything and have a really, really clear path moving forward. And then Casey gives me a call and says, hey, we got a presentation, we got an idea, we got new things coming down the pipeline. So I just want to say thank you to the TUC for giving that presentation. Thank you for everybody giving their thoughts and suggestions of what we're going to do with the golf course. It is a major decision for the city, and it doesn't need to be taken lightly without all the due diligence that we can, with consideration for all the individuals, businesses, and residents of the city. I think it's premature to make any long-term decision without having all of our questions and concerns addressed and carefully discussed and agreed upon, knowing that this might take us, this is going to be more than one workshop or meeting or discussion. So That's the first thing. A lot of the things I've been hearing too, and this is just 1 out of 5 council members, government entities are not in the business of generating a whole lot of money and profit. One of the good examples of that is the building department. We can't make money from the building department. So I think it's just something for the public to know. We can't necessarily just profit from what we're trying to do in providing services. Another point that I want to make too is what's the responsibility of the municipality? What's the responsibility for us up here to do? We want to provide recreation across the board. So we are putting a lot of money and resources into pickleball, into lake access, into Circle Park. So we want to provide services and opportunities and green spaces for everybody, even if you're not individually participating or involved in the golf course. Somebody else is, just like no one. Maybe a lot of us here aren't sliding down on slides on Charlie Brown, kind of fun them. So I just want to provide, in the future, long-term as we grow, more opportunities for amenities and green spaces and opportunities for everybody to enjoy the city that we live in. You are paying taxes and we want to make sure that you're getting value and good services. I wish we had a unlimited budget that we could just provide everything for free, and that's not where we're at, unfortunately, until Roland wins us the lottery, but he promised me he wouldn't do that either. So we're tasked with really hard decisions, make the best financial decisions with the best numbers and available. So there's just a lot of things to take into consideration, and thank you all for your time with that. Like Josh, I have some specific questions to the Blackmans and what they're looking at. And I think those may be best be just addressed at a different time, or talking or discuss with Scott, because I don't know what the council thinks of. I don't know if we have specific questions that we want to address in this meeting. But so could I ask some questions to either you, Robert, or Mr. Sykes? Yeah, if you want to come up. Thank you. So when you presented at the March 18th meeting, and with what you just discussed, are you proposing the same contract that you presented to us at that meeting, or is there going to be a revised one?
There would be minor revisions as to timing, but in general, the contract or the ground lease would remain the same.
Okay. So what would be I would like to see the existing city employees extended the right of first refusal if there were job opportunities. If that's something that could be written into the contract.
Yes.
What would be the plan and timeline for Caddyshack? Do you have an estimate of what that would be? What length of notice would you potentially give?
I mean, to be completely clear with you, Caddyshack we foresee as having the option to be there infinitely. We have no designs to get rid of them, throw them out, any of that. In fact, when we have been asked by members of city government, hey, they've got a lease coming up, we said absolutely give them the lease. We go there, we like Caddyshack. The only thing we would want to talk about in 2 years' time is there would have to be some kind of renegotiation on some terms because, as they said, it is far, far below market. So we want some kind of negotiation down the road. We have no intentions to kick them out, give them notice, any of that. We want to keep them long term.
Let me add one point also on the Caddyshack lease, and this is, first of all, we have not had any conversations with the proprietor of the Caddyshack restaurant, and it would be improper, number one, to request it, and I'm pretty sure that Bob would not have approved it, even if I had asked that we could have conversations with him until we had some kind of agreement with the city. But one thing that we would have to address and figure out how to work around was in the last lease that was executed, there was a provision that the Caddyshack restaurant has the right to offer beverage and food service to the course. We would just like to figure out how that's going to work, what's going to work. The Harder Hotel will have a restaurant, and we just don't want to be in conflict. So we would love to have the opportunity to sit down with them. Just at this point in time, it's not the appropriate thing to do.
Thank you. So in section 4, so it's basically an extended 99-year lease with the agreement to, or option to purchase. So are you open to other renewal or leases that is limited maybe just to starting a 5-year term to see how everything goes and then going to maybe a 10-year term compared to just going from 50-year to 90-year, total 99-year lease?
Yeah, the issue with that would be, we plan on putting money into the course kind of front-loaded, and, you know, you see this in government, that's why people typically put in the longer-term leases, so that you can have, you know, you reap what you sow, in other words. So the course needs, you're just not gonna get people out there at the level you want with conditions. And again, we think that, I agree with everything Councilmember Carlisle said. It looks way better than it did, but it still has a long way to go, and there's that delta between where you need to be as a resort course and where you are now, and the appetite. I mean, you're going to be butting heads for all of eternity with how to get there and how to, you know, pay for that.
And with that being said, though, so part of what the contract says is a minimum of a $250,000 investment. Do you have, I know, and I didn't know this, but you mentioned that you have do you have a CIP plan, or you're working on a CIP plan? And do you have an estimate of what the investment is going to have to be in order to get it to where you want it to be?
At this point, it's kind of premature to determine what the CIP plan would be. Again, the way we originally looked at the ground lease is having a due diligence period, if you would, where we can get in, start to learn more about operations, get more financial numbers. We've got some of that information currently, but, you know, my clients not going to spend a bunch of money up front with consultants to come in and do redesigns and say you need to do this, that, and the other, without some kind of promise on the back end that they're going to be able to have a lease and to make the capital investment associated with it. So to answer your question directly, no, there's not a CIP plan right now. The goal was get to the point where council would approve a ground lease. We would sit down, prepare that plan, have the consultants come in, tell us what needs to be done, and then come back to council with a presentation on that.
So one of my biggest concerns of this too is section 23. It looks like it has you guys have the ability to encumber and mortgage the property. Is that going to be a stopping point, sticking point? Because that to me is just almost I couldn't move forward with that in the contract, that you're going to mortgage the property.
No, it would be a typical, so in most ground lease situations, the tenant has the right to have a mortgage for improvements that are made, but not on the underlying land. So the city is the owner of the land, and they'll continue to be the owner of the land in perpetuity unless for some reason a sale occurs in the future. But it is not unusual. To give you an example, one of my clients developed a Top Golf down in Brandon, and Top Golf mortgaged the cost of constructing their facilities now. It doesn't affect the underlying property. It's not a mortgage against the property. It's merely a mortgage against the improvements itself.
But after the CO2, when there is an option to purchase the land too. So I guess another question too is, with a lease, that's a different story. I'm open to things like that. But with the disposal and us selling the property for $1, is that negotiable too? Or is that going to be a stopping point in discussions?
You know, what we've been saying all along is it's not $1. It's the backstop on all the losses every year. Plus, we're putting it back on the tax rolls. And, you know, when you look at the $1 a year and being against it, I believe last week there was a vote to give the theater, which we are fine with, $1 a year lease. So, you know, you see the Historic Society has that. You see the museum right there. There's 3 buildings in the complex we're sitting at that have $1 a year leases. And they're continuing to be done, so we felt a little bit singled out by that, but we are willing to pay to put this back on the tax roll. So it is a double swing where you can hire staff, you can do whatever you want to increase the city's services moving forward with what we'll be paying while still providing an upgraded version of what's there today.
I understand that. So is it going to be a game changer or a deal breaker if the option is to just to lease is on the table, or do you have to have ownership of the property, the way that this works?
I mean, I think you want some kind of back-end protection of what you're trying to do, right? I mean, that's what we were saying is, my biggest mistake in this entire process is I should have pushed harder up front, because usually you have your term sheet set out before you do things. Typically that's done because you have to get bank financing, and the banks want to know what you're getting into. We've done everything in cash so far, so we didn't have that problem. However, you know, now we're looking at things and kicking ourselves that, hey, why didn't I push harder in December of 2022? When everyone said, don't worry about it, just keep, you know, on trucking, and here we are, and, you know, we've got a theater full of people. So, I think we want some kind of protection. We're talking about making a much bigger investment. We support, and I understand what we're saying about parks and the arts and everything. We're talking about making a much larger investment in things than any other project, and paying for the pleasure to do it with tax dollars. We've gotten no incentives. We've gotten no offers for bonds. We've never said, hey, you know, we'll give you some money, or we'll kick in some of your purchase price from the hotel. This has been an entirely cash enterprise, and we're trying to continue doing that. But the course, to be clear, has no value in the market, because, to Councilman Stewart's point, it is in the contract saying you can't do anything but keep it as a golf course. That's in the lease we presented. So if you have to keep it as an enterprise that's lost money and can't be redeveloped, there is no market value, or else somebody else from the market would have done something at this point. And I've approached you guys.
And I can see that too. And thank you, Penny, for sharing all these numbers too. I'm the numbers guy. I talked to Penny quite a bit about the numbers today, looking at everything too. I think it's just, and I think good for the public to know too, there's a lot of different ways of looking at this. Mr. Sykes, you made a point that there's a $500,000 a year per loss. So I mean, when we're looking at these numbers, depending on how you want to look at them, and again, numbers, that's my job. There's a lot of different ways to look at things too. But really, I mean, if you wanted to look at the audited 22 financials, you could see that the income or loss before the capital improvements and transfers, we're at a $100,000 loss. But if you add back in depreciation, you could kind of make the argument too, you made $50,000. So I think it's just a way to present the numbers too, that we are having to put money in to fund the golf course, but I think we need to find out as a council too, is what are we willing to put in from general fund in order to provide an additional service for the community. This is the community's golf course. This is a piece of the property that was deeded to the city, and I just want to make sure that we're taking good care of it too, and before making any major decisions, we're taking everything into consideration. It's like we made the point too, we're not making money off Max Lawn, we're not making money off Veterans Beach. It's not, and again, I said this in the council meeting in March, I'm okay with putting an investment in order to benefit the community. There's a good use for it too. And I think that saying $500,000 per year, that's just an overstatement. In general.
To stop you on that, though, that was, that came from you guys' financial report on the internet, that 515. I didn't make that up. You can go on your website and look it up. It says $515,000 net loss in 2023, which is the last fiscal year.
No, I agree with that too.
But
looking at other,
we just took it off, you know, off the list. Yeah, so I don't know how else to address that, but sure.
Here's the point. The course needs $400,000 a year in improvements. There will be, right now it's unplayable. It will probably be unplayable for days, maybe through the weekend. So not only do we need improvements every year, drainage, capital improvements, but also it's not generating any tax for the county or the city. So, and there'll be hurricanes and bad weather every year. You can count on it. So $500,000 a year is not an overstatement going forward, I don't believe at all.
I mean, the other thing is, when you're taking money from a general fund, that's money that can go to anything, right? That's your discretionary budget. And when you're having to pull from that at all, you're in trouble on the enterprise fund. I mean, that was unheard of. We would never touch the general fund to subsidize anything. If we had that kind of loss, we would cut it. If the market would have absorbed this course, like I said, 100 years ago, This was a trade-off. It was gifted to the city by Harder Hall's ownership as a trade-off and then finished the hotel. And the city was desperate enough for the hotel at that point. They took on this risk, which is 100 years later, still losing money. If you could privatize the beach and make money, I think you guys would be in favor of that. You want to try and do what you can to be a steward of taxpayer dollars. This was a trade-off from 1927 that was because the council then valued the resort so much. It's the logo of businesses. There's a plaza with a tower. It's
Mr. Blackman, here, let's let him just ask some questions. You'll have time to wrap up.
So the way I look at this too is more like a public partner partnership or a private public partnership of this too. So not for public record, I don't know how we can do this, but this is a very big undertaking, and I just want to make sure that the city isn't going to put ourselves in a situation that we're taking risk and a lot of liability. You mentioned too, Mr. Sykes too, that we are taking a zero liability, $0 financial responsibility in this. If we're kind of really, would you agree that we're kind of partnering with this if we go into a lease agreement?
Absolutely. I mean, it is basically a public-private partnership in essence.
So with that being said, then I would feel really comfortable and confident, or I would feel a lot better about moving forward into the future and just knowing what the financials are too, just to make sure that the city is covered and protected too. So and this is something I want to try to make as clear as I can to the public and to you all too. When I look at all the projects and things that you guys are doing, Harder Hall is separate from the Wachovia building, which is separate from what we want to do here. So I see what you all are doing with the CRA, but as a council too, if we're going to move forward with the golf course, I just want to see more milestones set up, see financials, and making sure that we're moving forward the best way possible.
We agree completely in the lease, and I'd have to look it up, copy in front of me. I think we said that there's a reverter if you guys deem that the quality is not maintained after X amount of months. If you guys don't think of any more milestones, we're happy to throw them in there. I mean, it would be disastrous if we let the course get any worse, right? It just would be not only bad for you guys, it would ruin the hotel. So if you have any suggestions, we're happy to hear them.
So you're open to the idea of just opening up financials too, just to make sure that we're on the same page?
What do you mean by that?
I just want to make sure this is a multi-million-dollar facility. There's a ton of payroll, there's expenses. I don't want to go into a deal that something, for whatever reason, I don't like to take necessarily just people's words. Being a numbers guy, I'm seeing businesses all the time. I just want to see kind of where things are at before we get into a 100-acre parcel of land, employees, those costs, and this is going to be a partnership. I just want to make sure I know who we're going into business with. Again, kind of separating what you're doing with Harder Hall versus the other projects. This is now when we're involved. I personally would like to see that. I don't know where everybody else is.
I hear you on that. That would be extremely non-standard in any construction project because you have a guarantee already in there on the course. So you're talking about the condition of the course being kept. I mean, I don't know, opening up financials, like what we're paying the roofers, what we're paying for windows, or...
No, I'm not saying about Harder Hall at all. No, I'm just saying for the
oh, you're talking about
golf
updates on the course.
Just on the golf course. Yeah, I don't know anything about Harder Hall what you're doing there. I'm just saying about, in order to maintain the quality, how we're going to fund it, we're going to work together, that's what I want to
That's
say.
a very standard thing, and we'd be happy to do whatever you said, probably 6 months or a year is typically what you see on those. We'd be happy to do either on reports, and then you bring in financials, rounds, like what you guys provided. Yeah, that'd be fine.
I know that's a lot. Thank you.
You're walking away.
I'm good. I don't know if any specific questions that you guys have. You're up there before he sits down.
What are you planning on charging per night, per room? You made a comment that you wasn't going to be in competition with hotels, so what's your rate going to be?
So the short answer would be, it is premature for that, but I will tell you, we've underwritten this with our own numbers, and we figure if you can start at least 150 a night, you can make it work there.
The people right up from me charge $259 a night.
That's right. The
That's
thing though is,
competition.
you're looking at, but if you think you don't need more hotels in town,
And they don't own the golf course.
hey, what's that?
Said they don't own the golf course.
Guys, hey,
That's okay.
everyone will have their time to speak.
I was just.
I guess the people going last is all been said already, but my opinion probably closely aligns with Josh across the board. You know, I was never really in favor, and I told you this, just, you know, essentially just giving you the golf course. Like the idea of the 99-year ground lease, you say you're going to maintain Caddyshack. That addresses my concerns. The only outstanding thing is the future of the employees, making sure that we have that covered. You know, there's things like government benefits. We just got to be able to figure that out. But, you know, I'm not going to sit here and beat a dead horse. I like what you guys have changed your proposal to. The only other question that I have is really for legal and staff. If we do proceed forward with a 99-year lease, does that need to enter any kind of a RFP type situation? I don't know.
There is no legal requirement to have an RFP.
Easy enough. All right. Okay. That's all I have. Thanks.
So, in light of what the TPC presented to, I think that's something that what they want to propose, what they have proposed, I think we need to take a really good hard look at what that looks like for the course too. So, I know you all would like us to sign something tonight, but I want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence. What is the highest and best use of that property? Is there a timeline that you're looking for, one? And then the second thing would be, I wouldn't feel comfortable right now signing something over until we see more deliverables and action items on the existing projects that you have.
Yeah, and I guess our thing would be, we really do need to be figuring out the usage as we're rolling the envelope up. We need to determine if we're going to do this as a resort or not. That's why we blocked in the windows, we're going to do central AC, that's why we spot the hurricane impact windows, that's why we're spending nearly $1 million at the doors anyway. This goes out the window if you do an ALF. I would have done it as a historic renovation project, a restoration, I would have done it as a renovation, and it's just not something we really want to be involved with. I will say you do need to take a good look at the TDC's plan, because, you know, it was said by Councilman Carlisle that maybe that was a good idea after he said he wanted to give Tucker a chance, but that plan is talking about eliminating 9 holes and turning it into a 9-hole course. It's in the presentation. So you're talking about losing the golf course as you know it, and we were talking about usage and preserving it. So that's what I was saying about kind of value decision is, do you want a golf course to be an 18-1 group, or do you want to put in more sports fields? That is not for me to decide. That is for you guys to decide. But we really do need to kind of get a decision here. I mean, like I said in the presentation, we have preserved the building. The foundation's done, the roof's wrapping up, the windows are ordered, the doors are ordered, but we're just not gonna go to where we're gonna go without the golf course. And that's just plain and simple, because if somebody else in the market would have done it, it probably would have been done in the last 39 years. There's a reason this has been vacant for 40 years, and we know that it's a limited window for success here. So we would really like, I mean, we were hoping to get a 30-day workshop window from that March meeting. You know, I'm super thankful to everybody. I'm thankful to Scott. I'm thankful to Kathy. You guys have been great, truly, with getting this done. But, you know, I don't want to waste anybody else's time either, because if this is not going to come to fruition, we'd rather take the quick no than the long maybe, because it's already been going on for 2.5 years. And we really need to figure out what we're doing ourselves here, one way or the other.
I just kind of like to wrap up this side of it a little bit and explain how this kind of came to a head when Robert and Jim came, this was actually back in 22. I don't think Charles and Leonard, you're the only councilman on the board when they came up.
Speak up.
And there was an interest in the getting Harder Hall back online, and we got kind of excited when the ad group come in and said, hey, we just paid $4 million cash for this. And the conversation did start to say, it'd be great to turn this into a high-class resort and tie in the golf course. So there was interest from council members that were here to move forward with it and at least take a look at it. And that was prior to what had happened to the golf course now. So there has been an improvement, but this is where the Blackman family came along and they've been kind of riding on this thing with prior council members that were here. It's an exciting adventure. When you look at what is going to happen to that resort, that's a $30 to $40 million project before the golf course. They got nearly $10 million in it now. Is that what it was? Sorry, that was my wife telling me to shut up. But so this is where this concept has really come from. And it wasn't just, hey, we want to ground lease with this. This has kind of been mulling over for the last 4 years, almost 4 years. I think 2022 is when it started, when you guys started looking at this thing. So that's where it is. I know there's a lot of concerns and comments that come from, I've gotten all sides of it here over the last few weeks about for and against doing this. I think that a couple of the biggest things were just from a staffing standpoint, what are you going to do with the staff? How are you going to secure your jobs? And then the Caddyshack was another big one, and I got a ton of people that had commented on that. But I think there's a lot of stuff that still needs to go over, and like everybody up here said, we just need to kind of hash it out and come back to a yes or a no, basically, and see if we can negotiate the terms as we kind of outlined a little bit here. And I'm sure we're going to hear some more comments from people, but this is just not a drop in the bucket. These guys have come forward. If you remember the one before this, it was an ALF that was going to come in, and we're going to get a big bond issue with a $45 million. That thing tanked. You look at it before when we had Shanker come in from Miami that stuck the city with about $4 million. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that had happened in the past, and all of a sudden you get somebody come in that are crazy enough to put $4 million into a project that was going to be bulldozed. Actually, it was on the city council agenda to look at when the ALF kind of collapsed and they were bailing out of town. The city got that back. It was going to turn into a piece of dirt in a housing development. So the Blackmans have come in and committed a ton of money to this, and I think it takes fair consideration to go ahead and continue to look and see if there is a possibility, if we can allay some of the concerns and secure some of the concerns. I think, you know, the city council and the residents, if you look operationally and where it can be and what it can bring to our community, not just a golf course and a resort, it'll be a destination. It's kind of like HGTV downtown. We became a destination for a lot of things. So it's something that we at least need to consider. It can improve values, it can improve our community, it can improve a lot of things for us if we look forward. Even if we don't turn the golf course over, you know, we have to maintain that in a great position, because it's still, to get that beautiful asset on the lake completed is going to be such an asset to our community. So that's about all I have, Josh.
Okay, thank you guys. So we're going to move on to the public comment portion of the evening. I want to remind everyone that there is a hard 5-minute timer. If you are here with a group of people and you can elect or select a spokesperson so we're not here all night, that would be wonderful. We have 2 people who kind of put their names in to start with, and then I'm going to ask that you can just come up as you would like. When you come up to the podium, please state your name for the record. And we'll have the timer going here. So Mr. Bobby Lee put his name in first, and then after that, Mr. Drew Locker, and after that, it's whoever would like to go next. We're prepared to work.
Back when Councilman Carlisle was in grade school,
I learned how to draw the ball and fade the ball on that golf course. The reason I had to do that, because you couldn't hit down the middle where all the water was. It's shocking that almost 70 years later, it hasn't changed. And so far, all I've heard is the Blackmans will change that. I don't know that the city can afford all of the engineering and all of the earth moving that's going to be required for us to hit a ball down the fairway. And that's kind of a shame. So, did we lose $500,000 last year or the year before or not? The question is, we shouldn't even be asking that. Why would we even be considering the possibility of losing that much money if someone else is willing to do that for us? As taxpayers, I don't have to pay. I don't mind them paying. But I don't see why the rest of us should have to pay. So, are we going to continue to subsidize the golf course is the question. Or are we going to give this one a chance? You can word the thing so that it's a chance. Not a long chance, but a chance for a long time or not, whichever. As I understand it, the current players that are out there can still play. Not going to be a problem for them. There's not going to be a problem, we just heard it earlier, with the restaurant or the 5 full-time employees. And there's probably no reason why Mr. Swain over here can't work up a deal where you can just lease the employees out from the city and they can still get their employee benefits. It happens all over the world. I know it can happen in Sebring as well. They wouldn't have to even worry about whether they're going to have their city benefits. A couple of things here have already been addressed, so I don't need to do it. The real question to me individually, and it's not the last, well, obviously that's the last one. I will say this, I'm in shock. I actually sat and listened to the presentation of the Tourist Council the other day when they were talking about this. I was in shock that they were wanting to reduce our golf course down to 9 holes. In essence, that eliminates the golf course, so you might as well go ahead and make it 0. Nobody's going to go play 9 holes. And if they do, then they're like I was when I was 13 or 14 years old, and that's probably enough, but it's not enough for the average golfer. As far as the new equipment part, I'll throw that out there. I don't know, Councilman, how in the world you came with $400,000. I can go and get a 180-mile-an-hour wind-resistant barn, if you will, a garage, 4-car garage, for $20,000. I'd have to pour my own floors, but I don't know why it costs $400,000 just to put the equipment out there. And if that's the case, then why shouldn't the Blackmans do it instead of the taxpayers? So the last thing, I guess, is the Blackman family. Why in the world would they want to stay here in Sebring if they can't really make a good going of what they're trying to do for our community? I just don't understand. They wouldn't. If they were me, they would not do that. They would pack up, they would sell off, and they'd go home, and all the other opportunities we have, all the support they can give this city, that they're willing to do and have been doing, will dry up, and just like the winds up north, they'll blow all those leaves away, and it'll be gone. That's all I've got to say.
Good evening. Drew Locker. I am a consultant for the Blackman family. I'm a licensed general contractor. I've got 25 years of historical renovation experience, and I spent 9 years of my life building the Stream Song Resort for the Mosaic Company. 3 championship golf courses. The Blackmans have brought me on to take a look at this. I've been talking with Robert for 2 months about, hey, it will rain down there one day. Let me go look at the golf course when it's raining. bad. Luckily, when I came down, today was that day. So I spent about 2 hours walking the course. A lot of drainage problems, a lot of, from historical pictures I've seen from the Blackmans. Yes, it's been improved, it looks better, it looks that. What we're working on, and what I'm working on with them, with my contacts in the industry, is to bring in world-class golf course architects. Invest in the course, make the course there, because, and I think, Jim, I told you this the first day I met you, it is a resort amenity. If you don't have the course, you don't have a resort, you have a hotel. And that is a big thing. You need to have the amenities, you need to have the golf course, you need to have tennis, you need to have pickleball, you need to have a spa, a restaurant. All these items, when you go ahead and you restore something to this, you have to have those. And one of the, Mr. Stewart, you made a wonderful point of, hey, once you get a CO, then we can talk about this. The thing that scares me about that is amenities need to be delivered on day one. And the course, I don't think municipality understands the investment that they want and need to make into the course. The drainage has to be fixed. You're going to rebuild holes. You're going to change the layout of the course. Who knows how it would be? Like I said, I've talked to 4 different very high-end golf course architects, and they love stuff like this. When we tell them, hey, it's a horrible drainage, it's got issues, it's a municipal course that they've done everything that they can do, and they like to do this. They like to change these things. It's a challenge. But that's where the Blackmans are trying to push this. Resort destination. You would come somewhere, wherever. You're going to travel from Orlando, from Tampa, from Jacksonville. We can go stay at the Harbor Hotel. It's historic. It's wonderful. We can go down there. It's a resort. We have wonderful city of Sebring. We can do stuff there. It's a 2-3 day destination to go. And golf course players, I'll tell you, any of these hardcore golf course players, they go to Streamsong, they play 3 courses. There's another dope course down in Jupiter. These guys will travel to play golf. And it's make it a good reason for them to want to come to Sebring, because they will. But like I said to Jim, the hard truth of it is, I said, if you don't have a golf course, you don't have a resort. And that's just the long and short of it. I think they're going to be a very good steward of the land. I think they're going to really push to make the golf great, to make the resort great, and it really benefits the town as a whole. So again, I'm working with them to try to push this in the right direction, but understand when you talk about the golf course, that is their vision. Their vision is to make it a great golf course. And yes, it's still here. When we did Streamsong, everybody was terrified that no one from the public will be able to come play. It's going to be private, and we never did that. Of course, it's a public course. Anyone can come play, and I think they have the ability, to put things in place for people who are here. When you talk about rates and all these things, you can work through that. They're very reasonable people, but in order to make the hotel and the resort pencil, you need the golf course. Thank you.
Next up, yes ma'am. Make sure you state your name for the record.
Sure, Jean Campbell, Remax Realty Plus, and I've been here since, selling real estate here since 1980. It sounds like these gentlemen should have hired that gentleman before they made the decision to Hart Hall. And he's already mentioned, Mr. Blackman already mentioned something along the lines about, that they need a golf course or something like that to make it successful. And I think this gentleman reinforced that. So I'm just looking for a yes or no on this one. Has Inn of the Lake ever approached you guys on the golf course? Yes or no? Ever? No?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So, like I already said, they obviously thought they would need a golf course in order to really make the Harbor Hall a success. It seems like they should have known that before. Now, as far as Caddyshack was there when they made the decision to start Harbor Hall, and they've been there for, gosh, I have no idea, it was 19 years. But I say that in my business, I've had some amazing mentors, and they say, listen to people carefully and they give you clues. And I think we've already gotten clues. Let me, there's a lot that's been said about the golf course. But I tend to agree to what Leonard said. I think, Josh, you were saying that. I'm not really sure, but I know Leonard did. Let them get going. Let them, do what they intended to do with Harder Hall. Go for it. We're excited that they're here. But this gentleman kind of put some doubt in my mind. Gee, are they going to really make it finish if they don't? Are they going to finish it if they don't do the golf course? I'm questioning that now. So let's see. And then somebody questioned about how are they going to compete? How are Caddyshack? What are they going to do as far as the golf course? How are they going to compete with food? I don't think they need to worry about that. And if they don't worry about that, then again, that's clues. End of the lakes, they get packed with golfers, by the way. Oh, who said the golf course is unplayable? Is it? No. Okay, I didn't think so.
Today.
Well, yeah, but some houses, people in Sebring can't get into their driveways because of the rain too, so that's another subject. Caddyshack just gets full with, you have from doctors to real estate agents to, retired people, families. They have their birthday parties, anniversaries. I had 14 people there yesterday celebrating Mother's Day. It's just kind of a local hangout. And they paid the price, guys. You know that. They paid the price. They started, they weren't making any money. And just, one hamburger at a time. And French fries, or amazing chicken wings if you haven't tried them, char grill. But, they paid the price. During the hurricanes, pandemics, yes, there was a pandemic, they were there. And I just think it would be very sad. They've already mentioned about, we have to negotiate the lease. So they give you clues, and that's not a cool thing. Perhaps the city should negotiate that lease. I get that. And the city invested over $400,000 last year in the golf course. I just can't shake that. So anyway, I hope that you all will consider just let them do this amazing job that they intend to do. Let them make Harder Hall what we all want it to be. And then if you want to negotiate something with a golf course, then do it at that time. But let them prove themselves first. This last gentleman put a lot of doubt in my mind that they can, so. Okay. Thank
you. So I'm gonna ask going forward, I think we've got a line kind of started along the sides here. Go ahead, you're already up there, but going forward, if you could line up where these two gentlemen are on the side.
Thank you. Blackman, Felder, 3619 Westminster Road. I've been a member over at the community for about the past 15 years. Yeah, the course has had its difficulties, but let me ask council one question. Have you ever considered a management company? That would make your issue with Caddyshack a moot point. No investment involved there. The management company would take over the golf course, would take over maintenance, would take over all responsibility. You would still receive a portion of whatever rates you would negotiate. You could also take the maintenance building and negotiate to keep your equipment there to service maximum. So that's just one thought that you may want to consider. The gentleman that was up here before talking about Stream Song. Stream Song is managed by Kemper Sports. It's a management company. They're taking care of the responsibilities of all the maintenance and whatever improvements have to be done in that particular course. Just something to think about.
My name is Terry Mendel, and I just completed a 3-year term on City Council. It was a wonderful experience. I learned a lot. And one of the things I learned is Sebring should be thanking the Lord God for bringing the Blackman family here. I have worked very closely with them for the last 3 years, and I can attest to their quality of their character the top tier event, the resort that they want to bring here. Something maybe it isn't clear, if they're not able to join the golf course up with Harder Hall, it will not be a resort. It will be, just like they said, a hotel. And it's a whole different story for the amount of money they're going to put into it if they don't join with the golf course. And the 3 years that I've been there, it was always kind of an assumed thing that the golf course would be able to be connected with the Harder Hall like it was in the past. And I have spent hours and hours with the Blackman family, especially Robert, him volunteering his time and expertise to bring quality strategic development to our city. And I will be crying very big, real tears if Sebring, Florida misses the opportunity to have the kind of resort that the Blackman family want to bring here. And Robert's a very competitive guy, and he would love to have a top flight golf course and bring in big events there with the tournaments. He wants Harder Hall to be a jewel here. And I came here years ago. I worked in entertainment out in Southern California. I came here with my company that I was working for. City Council took me on a tour of Harder Hall. I was looking to bring in a group to work on Harder Hall. City Council promised me everything in the world, and I never said this to Robert, but they were going to give me Harder Hall. Robert and the Blackman group spent $4.4 million. I think I got that right. It was $4 million at least. They put a total of $10 million so far. And they have done the restoration correctly. And it's taken a lot of time. And they have been top tier with the way they want to do everything. That's going to go away. If this golf course isn't joined in with them, this is going to all go away. It'll be just a hotel. And some of the business people that Robert has brought here, they're watching all of what's going on to see whether our city council, the people of Sebring, are business friendly. And so far, it's been a hard road here lately. One thing that I asked with the Blackmans, Robert came to me a year and a half ago with the idea of, again, having a lease for the golf course. And there's this thing called a clawback. If they don't perform like they say they're going to, it reverts back to the city. There's going to be thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars into redoing the topography of the golf course. The golf course is not playable now. It's a lake, and it will drain off, yes. Our grand opening of the golf course, Red Tucker's done a great job with the money he's had. The grand opening of the golf course was canceled because it had rained. You can't progress to the next stage of having a top-tier golf course without reworking the topography and to have somebody of the quality of the Blackmans want to come in and invest in our community like this. I'm so proud of them and so happy to support them. And we don't want this to go away, and it is going to go away if the golf course doesn't get joined in with them. It'll just be a hotel that they're not particularly excited about. So please, Sebring, don't miss the opportunity to have this world-class 5-star resort here. We should be supporting the Blackman with everything that we have. They are helping now with a museum.
Make sure you state your name first, please.
My name is Pedro Villanueva. I'm a physician, and I've been here for 34 years. I live in the country club. You know, I don't play golf. So my main concern is in the Caddyshack. I know that that's been part of the deal. My question first is, can the Caddyshack be divided, separated from the golf course and treated as a different entity? Can that be leased to the Caddyshack owners and separated from the golf course? Give the golf course to the Blackman family and the Caddyshack to a different person. Is that possible?
I think it is possible. As far as I know, we would have to work out if that's something that parties would be willing to do or if we want to vote on. I believe it's possible.
Because Gabriel and his wife have been here for, he's been here since he was a teenager. He started from scratch, from zero, worked his way up, all the way to a business owner. He's been here for, 19, 20 years at the Caddyshack. And I would hate that because a big corporation comes to town, that they will be left out. I know that according to the deal here, since October 1st, according to the contract, everything passes to the new owners. The lease, the restaurant, everything goes one way. Even though they mentioned a 1-year extension, but that 1-year extension is if the family wants to. So they could be out in October 1st, after being there for almost 20 years. And I don't think that's fair to them, or to the 32 families that work there. I know that they mentioned extending the contract for another 5 years. That's a possibility. But that's not what the contract says right now. So my concern is, I think that they've been here, part of this community, for about 20 years. And they should be given the first choice of the Caddyshack and taking care of the Caddyshack. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and community members here tonight. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Dr. Albert Ruiz. I'm a resident of Sebring. I have been blessed with the privilege of caring for Sebring, Highlands County, as a family dentist for 34 years. I want to begin by expressing my support and excitement for the restoration of Harder Hall. The potential revival of this historic landmark, along with the improvements of the municipal golf course, could be a great step forward for Sebring's growth, tourism, and employment. Obviously, there's a lot of details that need to be solved, and I trust that they will be eventually figured out and resolved. However, I'm here today to speak on behalf of our beloved local business, the Caddyshack Restaurant, which sits on the city-owned property next to the golf course, operated by Gabriel and Sonia. This family-run business has become a cornerstone of our community. It's not just a place to eat. It's a gathering spot for locals, golfers, and friends. With 33 employees, more or less, the Caddyshack is also a source of livelihood for many Sebring families. We understand the developer, Mr. Blackman's group, is requesting that Caddyshack building be included in the golf course sale or lease. While we welcome the development, we are deeply concerned that including the Caddyshack in this transfer could dismantle years of hard work, dedication, community building by a local business. Gabriel and Sonia have poured their hearts into this business. It's their dream, and it's successful and working. Everyone here tonight, including our respected mayor, council members, Mr. Blackman, and group, who have built something from the ground up, understands how hard it is to grow a business, a brand, and a profession. That's why I asked council to consider alternatives. Some suggestions to consider allow Gabriel and Sonia to renew, retain, or negotiate a lease with either the county or with the Blackman Group. Or if possible, similar to what Dr. Villanueva was saying, segregate Caddyshack property from the golf course and grant them the first right of refusal to purchase the building. The city would not have to maintain, subsidize Caddyshack, and the gain of the proceeds can go for the community for projects. This approach would preserve a thriving local business, protect jobs, and still allow for the development of Heart of Hall and the golf course. I want to thank you all, council members, and the community members for your thoughtful consideration. I trust you will make the decision that reflects the values of fairness, local opportunity, and the economic progress for all of Sebring. Thank you for your attention.
My name's Karen Neal-Tedder. I got several questions, because I've had conversations with you, Mr. Blackman, on Facebook Messenger. One was, you told me that Caddyshack only paid $14,000 in rent last year. I think you're wrong. They paid $3,500 a month for a year, and that's more than $14,000. Two, you tell me the golf course, let me finish before I lose my train of thought, because I'm like my mother now, and my mother, she started all this stuff, okay? Two, you said the golf course is unplayable. Okay, well, when you have 7, 8 inches, Fred, how much rain y'all have out there? 8 inches in the rain? You can't play at a golf course. Okay, you cannot compete with string song in Sebring. String song is $300 a round. Okay, 2, 3, whatever, you have to have a caddy. This is public, this is Sebring. I've been here since 1974. My mother worked her, you know what, off to get local business here, keep local business here for the local people, for the people of this town. You can't come in and try to make this a little naive. It's not going to work. If you really wanted the golf course, you still have property goes with Heart Hall that was split up. You could purchase the executive 9 and make it back 9. You should have done your research and not guaranteed on the word that, oh, we're going to get the golf course and we're going to do this. That's all I have to say. Now, if you want to answer my response on the rent.
Ma'am, we're not gonna do a Q&A with the,
Well,
we'll
I
address
just
that at the end.
wanted to point out.
I think what you're relating to, and I didn't see that screen, but they did pay 30, I think a year ago, 30-some thousand.
What?
But the city picked up the insurance and the ad valorem taxes that has to pay, and so that probably was a net amount, if I'm not mistaken, so.
Okay, well, my question to you then, why cannot the Caddyshack be separated from the golf course? Why can't Gabe and who worked so hard, can they not buy it? Can they not do more than a 2-year lease? 2 years, possibly 3, was what he told me in his comments. You recommended to the city council a 2-year lease, possibly 3. I have it all in messages in black and white from what he told me.
Okay,
Yes.
that's a question that can't be answered tonight.
Well, I'm just letting you know what's been said.
Thank you.
Good evening, Joey Lang for the record. I keep hearing need. We need this golf course. We need this to make it a resort. It has to be a resort for this development to work. I find it ironic that when someone attempts to negotiate with the city from a position of need, that the city would usurp that position for $1 a year. It seems from the powerful position that the city has, we could dictate more favorable terms. Terms where the Caddyshack remains, but also where no effort is ever made to keep golfers out of their establishment. Terms where Sebring residents don't take a backseat to tourists. Terms where resident access remains affordable and reliable. Because any deal with any group for the municipal is going to wipe out the losses. So we keep focusing on savings. Let's get a real win by entertaining real offers that don't amount to the cost of hitting a golf ball in the lake on number 5 Avenue.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kim Pysick, and my father came to Sebring in 1995 because when he retired, a good friend gave him a coupon book, and the coupon card that went with a book that he could get discounts at golf courses. So he looked in Florida to see which city had the most golf courses that he could get a discount on, because he could pinch a penny till it pooped. So Dad came to Sebring. He was a golfer. He golfed 5 days a week when he could. He was still golfing when he was 90. He played every course in the area. His one look, he was sad when the Harder Hall course was dismantled. He hated to see any golf go away. But he also said, wouldn't it be great if someone would invest in one of the courses here and make it really fun to play. And he played a variety of them all over the country. He kept waiting for that really good course to come. And he also taught me never to look a gift horse in the mouth. When someone wants to bring something of benefit, of beauty to your community, you don't turn that away, you accept that. And also, he taught me that the cream rises to the top. He loved the Caddyshack. One of the last places he met with his golfing friends was at the Caddyshack, and we enjoyed a meal there. He would say, everyone benefits when one benefits. If the Harder Hall Resort is going to be a benefit to our community, then just by association, the Caddyshack will benefit also. And those of us who appreciate the Caddyshack will benefit as well. So it's not a one or the other. We have seen the benefits from having HGTV here and have seen the increase in tourism. I'm a volunteer with the Historical Society. We've seen increases even in our little endeavor at our museum. So I think we can all benefit, and the us versus them challenges all of us. I think we all lose when we are too close-minded to the opportunities available to us. Thank you.
Garrett Lee, and just would like to say that it is my opinion that the city council should go ahead and keep their word that they went ahead and gave back in 2022. You want to negotiate terms to make it as fair as possible for everyone, please do so, but keep your word.
Okay, is there anyone else before we are closing? Okay, all right. You guys just need a glass of coffee.
Stand up all night. Hi, my name is Debbie Turner, and I live out at Sun Lake. Just for starters, I have absolutely no skin in this game whatsoever. I think Caddyshack is a great restaurant. I've been to lunch there several times. The food is awesome. The people are great. We will be playing Sun Lake tomorrow after 11 inches of rain because we have awesome drainage on our golf course. We have spent last year $500,000 just on greens on one of the two 18-hole courses. So it's very, very expensive to maintain a golf course. And the city of Sebring does not have that kind of money. And I moved here 4 years ago from Fort Myers, where we have all the shopping that you could possibly want, and every time a new business looks like it's going to open in town, somebody gets on next door and says, what do you think it's going to be? And everybody comments and says, it's going to be another storage facility, it's going to be another pot shop, it's going to be another gas station, it's going to be a car wash. And the reality is, this town does not bring in enough tax dollars to bring Costco or Sam's Club or the places that I constantly hear that people want. And the other flip side of that is you want those things, but you don't want your town to grow. And you can't have it both ways. And these folks, and I don't know the Blackman family from Adam, but I will ask one question before I go to that. How many here have been on the Harbor Hall website, the historical website, and read all about that hotel in its heyday? Very few hands up. And what that resort did for this community was just unfathomable. And it could do it again. And nobody is trying to take away the Caddyshack. And I think if the city would sit down with the Blackman family and with the folks from Caddyshack, or the doctor and the dentist, I apologize, I don't recall your names, had a great idea. Slice that piece of property off, rezone it, get rid of it, and let the Blackman family build a beautiful restaurant right across from the golf course on that corner there, and let them do whatever they want to do with that property. And if Caddyshack is what everybody in this room loves about it, they will still exist and they will do phenomenal, and everybody's a winner. I support the Blackman family because any family, first of all, who cares about history and who wants to come into this town and completely renovate to the tune of millions and millions of dollars the most historic building in this town. And for this town to turn on them, and I gotta tell you, on social media, this town was just horrendous to the HGTV folks. They really were. If you've been down to the circle since HGTV was here, oh my God, what it has done for the business owners, the people who live in this town. And that's what these folks want to do for the entire town. You know, you're not beating up on the racetrack that brings in a ton of people every year. You're not beating up on the Inn on the Lakes who brings in, you know, big groups of golfers, because we see them out at Sun Lake all the time. So, you know, for this family to come in and want to spend that kind of money, oops, I dropped your thing. And to get such a hard time, and again, I agree, I think hopefully a lot of people that are making the decisions in this room have realized that the Caddyshack's an issue. And that has got to be addressed one way or the other, or I don't think you're going to get the support of the community, and maybe not the support of the board, I don't know. But I commend you and your family for coming in here and wanting to do this project, because I can't wait to see it. And I, like a whole lot of other people in this room, hope that we're still alive to see it when it's done. And please don't just think of yourselves when you're making comments about this, and don't think of just today or tomorrow. Think about what this is going to bring to the community as a whole, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road.
So the council mayor, my name is Chip Goring, for the record. I just had 2 or 3 points to bring up real quick. Mr. Blackman made the comment, it was unsolicited offer to the city to lease the golf course, eventually maybe buy it. And we talk about transparency, and because it was unsolicited, nobody ever knew. Because there are people out there, other individuals that would be interested in leasing the golf course or buying it. I know that for a fact, because I've talked to a couple of them. Having said that, the comment about expenses, and I agree as a real estate commercial broker, I agree that the lease that Caddyshack currently pays is under market. It is cheap for that type of facility, and I'm not going to guarantee this on behalf of the owners of the restaurant, but that approximately $16,000 a year equates to about $1,300 a month. If you raise the rent if you're not paying for the Texas insurance, you know, that gets it more of a market value. And I'm not saying they would be willing to do that, but that's certainly something to keep in mind. The other thing is on the golf course, number 9, everybody, when it rains, you gotta miss the ducks or go in the water, one of the reasons. So that there is drainage problems and improvement to the golf course that I play golf too. I certainly encourage the consideration of that, eliminate that an expense to the city. Thank you.
How many of you are ready to go home? Yeah, that's what I thought too. Listen, I just want to thank the city council, the mayor.
So we know who you, sir. We know.
We'll start it all up again. Here we go. Tom Devlin, 3390 Lakeview Drive. Former police chief, 19 years. Former police chief, 19 years. City councilman, 2 terms, which is 6 years. You know, I don't see this as an us and them. I see this as a tremendous partnership that is ready to come together. I really do. I'm proud of everybody that came up here tonight to make their feelings known. The Blackmans, I can see them being flexible. I see that happening. I mean, they're ready. They're bending over backwards. They want to help out. They want to make this happen, and so do you guys. I commend the city council for being cautious and for being forward-looking and wanting to protect the interests of the city and its employees. They always have and always will. One point that I picked out, and if I'm not mistaken, Max Long could use a good shot in the arm so they can get up on that list to start drawing in some national competition. Take that 250, 300,000, 400,000 that we run in the red every year with our golf course, throw at least a good 50% or better of that toward Max Long. Make Max Long look wonderful. And I think that will work. A couple of points that were made. It's about public recreation. We talked about the beach, we talked about parks, we talked about the tennis and the pickleball courts. The only difference between them and the city golf course is you don't have to pay to go to any of these other facilities, right? You do if you want to play golf. You got to pay the greens fees, you got to pay the card fees. We're still losing money. That's not good. In the 19 budget years that I had to present to city councils as the police chief, all I could think of, and by the way, it's so much fun to be able to say this now because I couldn't do it then. How many police cars could I buy for the amount of money that we were pumping into the golf course and not getting anything back? We were losing $350,000, $400,000 a year. That's 6 or 7 or 8 police cars in my world. Bottom line here is the golf course is looking better. It does need some very serious improvements. We've got to get the drainage situation under control. And that affects the entire neighborhood, by the way, folks. And last but not least, as a cliche may be, let's make Harder Hall great again.
Okay, I think that's it for public comment. Thank you, everyone. We're going to next go to follow-up by presenters. Mr. and Mrs. Mendoza, is there anything that you wanted to add after this?
No, we're good, thank you.
Okay. I believe our TDC presenters have left. They were only going to stay for their presentation. Oh, you're here. Anything that you wanted to add to Casey and Alan?
The only thing I will say is, it was not a recommendation to do that to the golf course. This was simply an idea. So that we weren't saying you need to do this. Our thing was, you have opportunities, give people an idea that look at all different opportunities. It spurs productive conversations, right? I agree with the gentleman back here. If you you take Max Long and you really look at that,
You're gonna have to come up to the microphone. Sorry, it's gotta be public record.
Al Verlander with Airstream Ventures. The only thing I was saying was we weren't recommending anything. We were asked to do a study, and we do a study all over. We do a study all over the country on these different types of facilities. So that's the only thing. It was not a recommendation. It was not even a suggestion that you do this. It was, you have this asset, here would be an opportunity. Currently, Max Long, you could take that and create 8 fields and make it unbelievable where you could attract national tournaments, which is good for Harder Hall. I can assure you that if you bring in tournaments that have 100 teams, they're going to fill up a lot of hotels, including the new Harder Hall. So I think, and a lot of what people are saying is it's both and, you can do everything. But that was my point, is this was not a recommendation from the TDC that you do this to the golf course. It was not a recommendation, it was simply, we were asked to do a study, and we did the study.
Thank you. Mr. Bryan.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Attorney Swain, Administrator, City Clerk, for all of you for your time. Put on my glasses. Tonight you've heard 3 visions for the golf course. Our vision is to enhance the course with upgrades and the assumption of risk while beautifying the entire neighborhood, creating jobs, bringing tourists with disposable income, and providing community gathering spaces for residents to enjoy. One vision was presented by the TDC. We were made of their proposal last Friday.
Hold the mic closer.
We were made of their proposal last Friday, the TDC. It would encompass elimination of potentially half of the golf course, adding concrete, asphalt, and impervious surfaces to a neighborhood that experiences severe flooding. It sounds like a big unknown change is potentially on the horizon, with the elimination of the golf course potentially, as we know it, a distinct possibility. We are presenting an offer to keep, restore, and enhance not only the golf course, but the entire resort for the betterment of the community. We are not developers. We are professional preservationists. We have preserved many vacant and abandoned buildings and are being honored Wednesday night in St. Pete for the 2nd time with the top award from St. Petersburg Preservation Society and with a banquet in our honor. We made our proposal for the golf course on December 28, 2022. Administration and City Council have for 2.5 years given assurances that they were on board with our proposal throughout this period and deferred to us multiple times on whether Caddyshack's lease should be renewed. We always obliged and said yes. I want to make one note. Caddyshack had the option 3.5 years ago to go for a 5-year lease. For some unknown reason, they did not exercise that option. That's just a fact.
We weren't offered that. We were presented with a 2-year lease because it was already promised to us.
No, if you look at your old lease, we made our proposal for the golf course on, I already said that. The number of high-paying jobs created for the community will be in the hundreds for not only the hotel's construction and operation, but for ancillary services as well. Additionally, all those from out of town coming to the resort will be utilizing disposable income of local businesses and will create the largest possible benefits toward heads in the beds, which is what TDC's on. This was to be our legacy, not just another failed attempt like so many people. What is to stop us from walking away? We have skin in the game. Where others were gifted a hotel and gifted public monies, we have financed the hotel solely on our own accord using cash for the purchase and renovation, of which we have committed over $10 million in counting thus far. We have invested in Sebring. We simply ask
that part of that favor be returned to us. I'd like to briefly tell why it's taken so long on Harbor Hall. All the former renovators did quick and dirty jobs. We've had to undo all the terrible things that have been done before. There was concrete tile on the roof. Historically, it was clay tile. We've gotten from Spain, clay tile for the roof. The window sills were pressboard with 4 mica over it. When they got wet, they expanded up to be about 4 to 6 inches wide. It has just been a horror show for the past 40 years that the place has been closed. We're trying to do it correctly. That's why it's taking so long. I can enumerate many other things.
I'm going to be brief. You know, we are offering to take this risk on. Again, we've been offered no financial benefits, and frankly, I'd rather the city have offered us millions of dollars rather than this golf course which loses money, but that offer's never been made, which we've made to others. We are giving guarantees, and we said we're willing to extend Caddyshack's lease, we want to renegotiate with them. We're willing to be reasonable on this, but we need guarantees for ourselves, because if we look at the National Register application from 1990, it said this hotel was completely out of scope of reality. You know, somebody said we're trying to turn this into Miami. We're not trying to turn this into Miami. We're trying to turn Harbor Hall into Harbor Hall, what it was always supposed to be and what it always was. You know, that hotel, we love Caddyshack. The hotel's been there for 100 years. It should have a little bit of deference to what it historically was. It was a golf and tennis resort. It was not a hotel, and it could never be a hotel. You will not be able to compete with the Trues, get on the lakes, because of the large common areas you have, just the cost of air conditioning. We could have gone faster with the hotel, yes, if you're going to do a different usage or a budget hotel. We had to get old photos. We had to micro-analyze them to match the window types and send those to the federal government and get responses back. What we're saying though is we're willing to give guarantees here, but let's just say that this falls apart today and we end up walking. You know, what happens to stop, say, the TDC presentation, to cut off 9 holes? Would they keep Caddyshack? Would any other future plan keep Caddyshack? We're willing to make this offer right now. As far as could we cut the building off, you have to work in tandem, and we want to work with Caddyshack to have them be a part of the golf course. If they were competing with us, we'd just build another restaurant. There'd be no continuity. We want to paint the exterior, fix the roof up, fix the landscape, make that product better because we want it to look good as a resort. If we're not working in tandem with them, you know, it beats dog eat dog. So I also think that it needs to be thought long and hard about what the cost of insurance and taxes are for a business, which have not been anticipated by current ownership. We want to finish what we're committed to. The Sebring Golf Association has leased this course in the past. We're not asking for something non-standard here. And again, we've gone this completely alone financially so far. We're in this thing for over $10 million so far. We've got the top of the line windows. We have the top of the line consultants, the best architects. We've been doing everything right, but we can't hold on any longer without knowing what the future is going to be. That's why we're trying to make it what it was always intended to be, by boxing in the window units, putting in central AC, all these things. But, you know, again, we are so thankful to everybody from the city. You guys have all been great to us. But we do just respectfully request this come to a landing in the next month or so, because, again, we'd rather take the quick no than the long maybe, because that long maybe has been going on for 3 years.
I'll be real brief. Just want to address one comment on turning it into Miami. There's a golf course and a resort that I dearly love that is north of the Tampa Bay area. It's called the Mission Inn at Howie in the Hills. Very similar to the situation. Historic property, restored, top-notch golf course. I've gone to 2, 3, 4 different conventions, conferences, meetings there. It's an absolutely wonderful place, and that is the same vision that my client has for the Harbor Hotel. Not to turn it into something from Miami or South Florida, it's not. Sebring is a lot like Howie in the Hills. It's bigger, but you've got the lake amenity. You've got this beautiful hotel that once was and now can be. And that's the vision that Robert and his family have with us. Not to change things for the worse, but to change things for the better.
to bring back history. So I just want to close on one thing, and that is the proposal that's before council really doesn't change anything. You heard Robert say it's going to work with Caddyshack. They want Caddyshack to remain. They want the existing staff and management to remain. What's going to change? The quality of the course, the investment in the course, the operation of the course going forward. The city will still own it. The ground lease, Mr. Swain and I built in some protections on it. If they don't perform, the city gets to take it back. What's the big disadvantage to that? Well, the city gets to take back something that's had a significant capital investment from the Blackmans in it. And I just don't see that happening. So, in conclusion, as Robert said, we'd like to get this to a meeting sooner rather than later. Part of the problem is the city's fiscal year begins again on October 1st this coming year. That doesn't leave us a lot of time. We've got a lot of work to do. You heard from one of their consultants that he's recently been engaged in the last 2 months. There's a lot of work ahead of us on this. We need the time to do it. We appreciate council's consideration on this in June.
Should we sit back down? I just didn't know if you had questions again.
So we're going to finish up with final council discussion and remarks, and we'll start with Councilman Carl.
First of all, I want the Blackmans to know I'm not against you guys. I just want to see some stuff happen, and we haven't. And I know it's been difficult. I do know that. As far as the golf course, I worked on the golf course when I was 16 years old. I've been here a lot. My dad was a chef at Harbor Hall. So I know some history about Harbor Hall. Yes, I would like to see everything happen, but there are some people we need to protect, like the Caddyshack, and I think everybody's aware of that. So we do need to protect the citizens and the employees of the Caddyshack and the city, because we have city employees out there. I think there's a way to work it out. Just to write words on a piece of paper. So I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to work with the council and the Blackmans and the citizens of Sebring.
And thank you all for coming out. So I appreciate all the input from the presenters as well as citizens, and just taking all that into consideration as we move forward. But to see the passion and enthusiasm each of you have for your individual projects and for your loyalty to your businesses locally is very good to see. And as we move forward, I'll take all these things into consideration. So we do thank you for coming.
So the purpose of this workshop again is to figure out what we might be willing to vote on in the future. So I would want to tell you kind of what I would be willing to vote on. I would be willing to vote on a lease or transfer of the golf course. There's a couple of benchmarks I think are important. And let's be clear, the only reason that we would consider this is it's not in a vacuum that the Blackmans have approached us. It's in essentially trade for putting $30 to $40 million into a beloved historic hotel in our community. And when we're talking about a $1 lease, it's not just that. And that's why I'm so emphatic that it's got to be kind of based on a CO. It's trading that, it's putting that investment into our community, and I think that's important. And so I understand the timelines, and I've heard what you're saying, we need it before the CO. I'd be willing to work on some sort of agreement that factors that in. I wouldn't be willing to vote for a lease where you could retain it or continue the lease without the hotel being CO. So I'm sure that can be worked out. I want to make it clear for the city residents here tonight, and we've talked about kind of numbers before, what we average each year, based on the financials that we have from 2012 on, is $225,000 a year is what we transfer in from the general fund to the golf course. That's a lot of money. Come budget time, we will not have a packed room. Usually those budget meetings are very boring and very empty. and very tough for us because we are squeezing pennies, trying to do it, you know, trying to make this a good place to live without increasing taxes. I have a 2-year-old son and another one who could be here any moment now. And I want it to be a great place for my kids to grow up. You know, I want good playgrounds. And there's a lot of golf courses around. And I don't personally feel like the city has to be providing one of them. No one else is going to provide playgrounds. No one else is going to provide ball fields. That's just government. And so personally, if the end result of this is a golf course that is well run and well maintained and still playable by locals, you know, and we are able to have more money for the things that no private entity is going to provide, like playgrounds and ball fields, I'd be in favor of that. And I will echo what's already been said tonight. And I believe the Blackmans, when they say they want to work with Caddyshack, I think part of the agreement to me would be a 5-year lease, to at least figure out, give them time to work together and figure out a plan forward. But I would be in favor of it if those kind of benchmarks are set.
I also appreciate everybody that came tonight and voiced an opinion. I think that's why we have a workshop, so we can get a feel for what's going on. And it's a positive venture, if you ask me. I think it's a huge investment in our community. You look at what CRA's done downtown with the millions of dollars that they've invested in buildings and now are turning over to people. It's a similar situation if we look at it from that standpoint. But there are some points that really need to be worked out. And I think we're well on the way. And I think City Council is probably, and I'll let you finish up with that, but as far as putting more concerns and getting into Scott Haley so he can kind of combine it and then talk to each one of us. But I really appreciate everybody that came tonight and voiced their opinion. There's a lot of good things going on in this community. And for a lady from Sun Lake that said we were horrendous to HGTV, you don't know the hours that people spent on that, and we were not horrendous. We worked hand in hand with them. So stay in Sun and Lake and don't come to Sebring. So.
I wasn't talking about the city people, I was talking about the social media.
I'd just like to thank you again and for everybody else. Thank you for allowing me. Thank you all. I have a lot of questions and quick concerns going into this, so I do appreciate the three of you addressing a lot of those. I feel better about potentially moving forward with this. I do want to work with you. Looking at some of everything in the contract and go with Scott and Bob and see what we can do to come up with an agreement. Completely open to that. I think there needs to be time for doing our due diligence again. To see if the TDC is a possibility too. I know we need to work within timelines too. Again, I just don't want to rush into a big decision in a small amount of time, especially with new information. I agree with Josh and with the deliverables and the milestones, making sure that we can make a plan and a path forward. That's very clear. And thank you for being open with the financials too. That's a possibility as we move forward, just so we know what's going on. And I think it's might be worth putting the consideration maybe an RFP or RFQ too. Just, I mean, assuming that you guys would have the best proposal too. I just want to make sure it'd be fair to everybody else in the community who would want the opportunity as well. So those are kind of like my 5 big takeaways. Looking forward to see what we can do to work together and partner with everything else that was being said by Leonard and Josh.
All right. Again, it's been said, you know, I really agree with what Josh had to say. You know, you've addressed my 2 concerns, maintaining ownership by the city of the land and making sure that Caddyshack is well attended to. You've addressed both of those. The only thing that I'll say is the CO situation. I know, I can only assume that you want to start work immediately on the golf course, so we have a big grand opening, and delaying the lease until a CO would just hinder that. It just wouldn't work. So we would have to set, like Harrison said, milestones, something, an obtainable goal. to where you reach a CO by this date, and the report falls. That's the only thing that I would ask. All right? That's really all I have.
Okay, thank you all very much for attending. I would encourage everyone on council to get any specific and final thoughts and concerns to Administrator Nately. That way we can start work on some sort of a concept that we could vote on and address in future meetings. If anyone in the public has more issues or concerns, all of our contact information is on the city website. You can email or call us. Thank you all for coming. We're adjourned.